Welcome everybody to Forza Motorsport 7, and today we're taking a look at the 1964 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt. Now this was part of the fourth generation that was produced between 1962 and 1965 of the Fairlane, but this version was exclusively made for 1964. And it is a limited production factory experimental drag racer, which with around 100 of them that were produced, so Ford could compete at the National Hot Rod Association Championship in 1964, which it won with a quarter-mile run of 11.78 seconds at 123.4 miles an hour. And to achieve this, it's been massively overworked over the standard Fairlane, with the engine being made bigger and more powerful, and the car overall made more, competitive in terms of racing, due to all of the engineering aspects that it's been overhauled with, as well as being lightened. It's been lightened by giving it fiberglass doors, a fiberglass hood, fiberglass front fenders, aluminium front bumpers, or front bumper, plexiglass side and rear windows, and it's also been given have other elements that were deleted from the car, such as sun visors, radio, heater, wheel covers, passenger side windshield wiper, armrests, rear window cranks, mirrors, sound deadening material, carpeting, trunk mat, lug wrench, jack and spare tyre. And it's also got lighter front seats, and it's also given racing equipment including tubular exhaust headers, an electric fuel pump, altered rear suspension with heavy duty traction control bars, asymmetrical leaf springs, trunk mounted heavy duty battery, locking differential, auxiliary gauges, special drag race wheels and tyres, and it's also got an aluminium scatter shield designed to contain the clutch in case of disintegration under a heavy load, which it would have a heavy load for numerous times, so it's a good job that it has that. It's also got the inside lights taken out and replaced by mesh, so the car has more breathing space, because as you can see the tubes come right out from the front of the car into the top of the engine there. And it is a formidable engine. It's a 7-litre V8 engine producing 425 horsepower and 480 pounds-feet of torque, which is a huge amount of horsepower back in the early 60s. Obviously the likes of Dodge would match that, or Chevrolet would even go higher than that in the decade, or even the early 70s. But yeah, for early 60s this is quite a formidable amount of power, to be honest. And it's a car that was very limited, like I said. Most of them were painted in this Wimbledon white colour, though 11 were given a burgundy colour. Most of them were, most of them were manuals. But this is an automatic. It's a 3-speed automatic, but you could get a 4-speed manual. I would technically prefer the 4-speed manual, to be honest, if you're going to be in a race car. So as you can see, there's very little in the way of interior in here. The only additional aspect is the rev counter, as you can see, that has been bolted onto the dashboard, but everything else has been practically removed or lightened. It's still got a trunk though, it's still got a sizable amount of space in the back, as you can see, but there's a battery that I talked about. But yeah, no carpeting in there whatsoever, and even though there are rear seats, they're not going to be all that comfortable either, because they are standard seats. But yeah, you're in a drag racer here, so you're really not going to be wanting to be in the back at any point. But yeah, it's a drag racer. We do have drag places to take this on this game, but we're going to take it out on the track and see what it can do. So yeah, this isn't the kind of thing that this car is meant to built for, because obviously it is just purely for drag racing, straight line speed only, not going around corners. So this car is rather useless in terms of going around corners, as you would expect, not being built for that. But it's not the worst handling vehicle on this game by any means. But yeah, the suspension is built for just going in a straight line. It is not meant for going around corners at all. If you'd have watched this car going around the Nürburgring on the Unusual Vehicles at Nürburgring series, then you will have seen that the suspension is really rather quite soft, meaning that the car does flex around a fair bit. And it's also got a hell of a lot of roll, and really does not like hard cornering in the slightest. But in terms of acceleration, it is really rather good. 0 to 60 in 4.617 seconds, 0 to 110.218 seconds, and it going to a top speed of 129 miles an hour, which isn't the highest the top speed is, granted, but again, even during a quarter mile you're getting towards that kind of speed anyway, so yeah, it's perfectly reasonable kind of top speed. But yeah, it's not the fastest car of this kind of vehicle. The Dodge Coronet WO23, which we've already reviewed on this game, is quicker to 60 and actually feels like it handles a little bit better than this, but that is slower to 100 and doesn't have quite a higher top speed, and yeah, I doubt it'll be quite as quick in terms of a quarter mile drag race either. But yeah, this is not meant for doing this whatsoever. It's purely just to show you what it can do in terms of straight line speed, and yeah, that it does that really rather well. But I have to say, I'm no fan of a car that can only really do one thing, and this just does straight line speed. That's it. It doesn't look particularly good. It's not particularly nice to drive. It's fairly useless on most of the demanding tracks on this game, and yeah, even Ford back in the day had to put in a little plaque in the glove box to say it wasn't particularly well made in comparison to their standard vehicles, because it was purely a drag racer at the time, even though it is a street legal road car. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of one car that can only do one thing, really. That's just my opinion on that. But yeah, I just don't really like it, and it really does play into the the stereotypical idea that American cars can only really do one thing, and that is go fast in a straight line, and this really does back up that stereotype. I personally know that that isn't the case. There are plenty of cars from America that are more than capable of just doing a quick run in a straight line, but most people see American cars like that still, even to this day, and this certainly doesn't help in that, and it probably was part of the reason why people were so generalising in their idea of what American cars can or can't do. But yeah, I prefer other muscle cars that are on this game, ones that especially look better and are at least more fun to drive, even if they're not perfect. But yeah, there's no doubt that this is a stupidly quick car in a straight line, and for that and that alone, it is a pretty damn good car, but in every other respect, it's pretty underwhelming. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.